Hi, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Label podcast. I am your host, Leanne, and this is Nina Gamell next to me. We're in her apartment in Tokyo. She is a really good friend of mine. We went through coaching training together, and she's now a life coach and a podcast host. So, hi, Nina.
Hi, Leanne, and hello, Leanne's podcast listeners. So happy to be here.
Well, thank you for having all of us in this space of yours. This is beautiful. We're actually looking at the Tokyo sunset. We'll put a photo somewhere here.
It's beautiful. It's such a nice sunset today, too.
It is.
Clear skies.
So I'm so excited to know all about your journey and your learnings, and we've talked so much about this. So let's just get right into it.
Yes, I would love to. I'm so excited for this conversation as well. I was looking forward to it since last week when Leanne messaged me saying she's going to be in Tokyo literally 5 days ago. I was like, okay, let's do this.
And we're doing it.
And we're here.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
Do you just want to start by telling the audiences, like, what do you do right now, and just, like, a brief summary of how do you get into this?
Yes, thank you. So let's see where I should start. Basically, I can start with my background. I'm originally from Missoula, Montana, and that is a state underneath Canada and pretty close to Washington and Idaho. And I grew up my whole life in Montana. And my mom is Japanese and my dad is American. So I grew up in Montana with a lot of different identity crises because there wasn't a really big Japanese population in Montana. There's virtually no Japanese people in Montana. So I was always like, why do I look different than all of my friends with blonde hair, blue eyes? All of my friends were also Christian too. So I didn't grow up going to church and having an understanding of like Jesus and God. So I always felt kind of disconnected from my friends in that way for actually practicing Buddhism because my Japanese family is Buddhist. And so, I always felt like a lack of belonging in Montana. And then I moved to California for college, and I was explaining to Leanne today, when I was in college in California, close to Los Angeles, there were so many Asian Americans there, and there were so many Asian Americans from different countries, like Chinese Americans, Japanese Americans, Korean Americans, or exchange students coming from different parts of Asia, and they were all really embracing of their identities, and I would always get the question, like, wow, you're part Japanese, that's so cool. And in my mind, I didn't fully think it was cool because I thought I wanted to blend in and be white. And that was a part of my life that I thought I need to start tapping more into my identity. So I moved to Tokyo about 5 years ago to pursue a master's degree, and now I'm in a PhD program as well at a university here called Waseda University, and I study international relations and political science. But I also am in the field of life coaching, and that's where I met Leanne about a year ago. Yeah. We were in the same coaching program called the Dharma Coaching Institute, and so that's more kind of a quick part of my story, but I can also share maybe how I kind of got into the space of coaching.
Yes, please.
And healing.
Yeah. Like your like ups and downs, like I call them highlights here, like, because I feel that both ups and downs are highlights of our lives that lead us to where we are. So tell us about your highlights.
Totally. I really like how you call them highlights because they are. So basically, my mom, who is Japanese, she moved back to Japan when I was like 13, 14. And so I was living with my dad and brother for all of middle school and high school. And so going back to that story of wanting to not like feeling disconnected from Japan, my Japanese identity, but wanting to actually embrace it more after living in California, I decided to move to Japan, and that was also me trying to build a stronger relationship with my mom, because my mom, she was really, really depressed from the divorce. She was going through all of this crazy, crazy rock bottoms with like alcoholism, and she's had a lot of trauma in her life. So I always witnessed that and grew up seeing that and always wanted her to be healthy and safe. And that was also for me to get my needs met as a child.
Yeah.
So that was a huge part of kind of the motivation why I wanted to enter this space of growth and healing, because I felt such a hole in myself. I did not feel whole. I always felt like sad and worried and anxious and depressed a lot of moments in my life as well. And so moving to Japan was kind of a moment of, I need to face all of my shit.
Yeah.
I need to connect with my mom. I need to reconcile with my Japanese identity. I need to embrace parts of me that I've never embraced before. And I've been on a major journey since then, moving here 5 years ago. And I'm still learning to embrace and love the parts of myself that I didn't in the past, the parts of myself that I was told I shouldn't be loving. And I've been strengthening the connection with my mom, which has been really beautiful, and it's still strengthening every single day. That's just such a journey in itself. I'm sure a lot of people can relate with difficult family dynamics, especially with a family member that just doesn't want to change, just not ready for change, but all you want is the best healthy life for them, but you can't force someone's growth and healing. So that's been difficult. But yeah, so basically feeling sad and depressed a lot of my like early 20s, I was like, okay, I need to do something about this. So I took the initiative and I started meditating. I started meditating a lot. I started to practice yoga. I was always in dance, so I was always connected with movement, but not in like a spiritual way. So I intentionally started to do a lot of different practices to connect deeper with myself and to connect deeper with who I am, my heart, what really, really fills me up, because I wasn't receiving that through my family.
Yeah.
So I needed to find a different way to do that. I think a big part of my story is like outsourcing a lot of my happiness to others. And I learned that you need to insource that and become resourceful within. So my early mid 20s was learning how to do that, tapping into communities that I felt supported by, and DCI, that community, was just such a huge transformative journey for me, where I felt so seen and supported and held. And like I could get really emotional thinking and talking about it, because it really is like, and you understand this too, it's like such a special community that we had, and beyond all the incredible skills, coaching skills we learned, it's more of the understanding that you're already always whole, and if you can belong to yourself and create a home within yourself, that's all that matters, and you can always tap into that. And so through that journey, I found a sense of home within. I found a sense of belonging within, because a big part of my story is not having that within my family or within where I'm from in Montana, or even in Japan. Like I stick out here too, even though I'm Japanese, but I am mixed race, so I stick out here and don't fully belong. But that doesn't affect me as much as it did, and I'm really, really happy that I have come to this point of recognizing my wholeness and feeling my wholeness, and now helping other people do the same.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. That is just so, so beautiful. I think from everything that you're saying, from, having difficult family members, especially, I think for me, there's something I heard, it's called like Asian like mom and daughter like struggle, like
Yeah.
it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And now that you've like come to terms, like to reconcile with your mom and to like strengthen that relationship, that is just so, so beautiful. Yeah, and I think just being able to build the sense of home and security from within yourself is such a long journey and process that each of us is going through.
Yes. Yeah.
And especially in like cities like Tokyo and like Hong Kong, like we were saying earlier, that there are so many people, like population living in these cities, but we still feel so lonely sometimes. And I think just being able to like find communities, and I know that like you're doing that quite well within your coaching, like you're doing like workshops and you're like actually actively building those communities yourself.
Yes.
I think that's just like it's a different level,
Yes.
Yeah, and it like opens up our hearts and like just like our openness.
Yes. 100%. Like I was telling you earlier today that I feel like my heart has just totally blasted open since DCI, and just even connecting deeper with myself, thus being able to connect deeper with others. Like I lead with an open heart now. I'm not afraid to put my heart on the table anymore. And that's something that I couldn't have said a few years ago, because once you experience difficult relationships, dynamics, especially with a mom or a dad or a sibling or a best friend, maybe trust can be taken away from you. Maybe your heart breaks. It's hard to repair that, but it's actually harder to lead with a closed heart, I've learned. And I just know my purpose and mission in life is to help others do the same. If they've gone through something really difficult, whatever it is, we can open your heart back up. Like it's possible. I'm living proof of that. And I trust in my ability to love myself deeply, therefore I can do the same for others wherever they're at. Like I trust and accept myself deeply, therefore I can do the same for others wherever they are at. That just has changed my whole life, honestly. Yeah. Like love and acceptance has changed my whole life.
Yeah.
And I get really passionate talking about it because it just is.
Yeah.
When you're judgmental and hateful and just, constantly talking shit, it doesn't feel good, but we're so wrapped up in this idea that it's just normal to, and it puts someone else on this like lower than you, so it gives you a sense of, oh, I'm better, but it like I want to denormalize that because I'm so done being in that type of environment where people are just not able to regulate their emotions, not able to see that whatever you're judging in someone else is actually what you judge within yourself. And it's a hard journey to stop that, but it's so worth it once you lead with more love and kindness, acceptance, and it starts within. It has to start from within yourself.
Like, I want to go deeper into just navigating that, since you've come from two very, very extremely different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And yes. I just learned that there are no trains in Montana that humans go on, and there's only like cargo trains. I recently learned that, I think like 10 minutes before this episode. Yeah, like how do you navigate yourself in between these very different cultural identities and finding that peace and still carrying that openness, because I'm assuming that there's a lot of misunderstandings. People who don't understand your culture and who don't understand like where you're coming from, or even people very close to you, like that might happen because of the different the different sides of you, right? Yeah, so how do you navigate yourself and all of this and still hold this peace and being grounded?
That's such a beautiful question, and thank you for asking that. Yeah, and going back to your point, there's no trains in Montana. Only like trains that carry a lot of wood to play. And it's so true. Like coming and living in Tokyo, most of my days consist of commuting on trains, so it really is such a different vibe and environment. Growing up in Montana and now living in Tokyo, like I can't think of more opposite environments, but I've learned that that's really what makes me unique and shine, is having these very different cultures mixed within me. And how do I navigate? It's hard. Like some days I feel like I wish I could have just been like just Japanese, fully Japanese, or fully American, not having this life in between countries, having two parents from different parts of the world, having two cultures within me, because it's sometimes like in Japan, even if I talk in Japanese, my personality changes. When I talk in English, it's like I have a certain personality too. But what I've learned is like when you integrate both of them and allow both of them to express and come through, that is who you are in your fullest expression. That is who you are. And so I'm really trying to not feel like, oh, even though I'm in a Japanese crowd right now and talking to my Japanese friends or family, I shouldn't hide this American other part of me to fit in. Yeah. Or like when I'm in America now, I'm so excited to tell people about Japan and the culture and the language, and it's like I'm not trying to hide that part of me, and now I'm all of me. So navigating it means to allow yourself to be anything that you want to be in that moment. And it's kind of hard because sometimes you think to be loved and accepted, you need to hide or conform or prove something. And that's actually what builds walls. And that's actually what creates distance. That's actually what closes hearts and minds. So this is something I'm still practicing, by the way. It's not like I'm really, really amazing at this yet, but I'm practicing it, and it's really changed how I engage and how I navigate my identity. It's how I navigate people that are also multicultural, because there's a lot of mixed people I am friends with in Tokyo, and we all have totally different stories and how we kind of operate in a bicultural, multicultural body and mind. So yeah, I really love that question. It got me thinking. Yeah.
And I love your answer.
Thank you. I was like, this is how I feel. It felt like I was just writing in my journal right now, like reflecting on this question that you had. It's a really interesting one that I think a lot of people, I would be interested to hear how people answer this as well, navigating a multicultural identity, because it's really hard too. It's really, really difficult, but it can also be fun at the same time.
I feel like I heard very similar things about being bilingual, that you have different identities, whichever language that comes out. And in Hong Kong, so because our I guess national language is both English and Cantonese, and we learn them at the same time in school. So we actually have something called Chinglish. It's so funny because for people who are from Hong Kong listening to this, they would really understand because there are words. So in Cantonese, we say a sentence, there are most likely English within the sentence, And it's so funny that words, for example, like a marker, like a whiteboard marker, actually no one knows what it's called in Cantonese.
Wow. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's just really interesting to hear you say that. And I personally feel like maybe you just need to find your own version of like a Chinglish self. Because when I speak in both Cantonese and English, it's kind of like that integration that you were saying.
Yes, I've thought about this before in this sense of like a box. Like we're always kind of told in society we need to fit in some type of box in order to feel a sense of belonging, but I'm like, I can make my own damn box though. Like,
yes,
let me make my own damn box over here, because that's what I think all humans really should be doing. We're all so different. We have so many different vibrant colors within us. And yeah, identity is interesting in and of itself, because it's like beyond identity. What are you? Who are you? And that's where we can get into like more spiritual topics. And I've been trying to engage with this question more of who am I beyond the labels, like beyond the beliefs in my mind, and like beyond what my mind creates for me.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to like feel into that more. It's a little bit difficult to express because it's kind of esoteric, but I'm really into like spirituality and understanding I am more than my thoughts, body. Like there's so much more that there's more, and our human minds just can't comprehend it.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to tap into it.
Oh my gosh.
Through different practices and modalities, and I think that's what's super healing is basically we're all the same. Identity,
Yeah.
like it's how we operate and make sense of the world around us, but we're actually all the same and all here to experience sensations in life and to feel.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes to love.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
That's it.
Can I just quickly say that like the paragraph that you just said, you actually mentioned my podcast name.
Beyond the Label.
I was like, oh my gosh, yes, this is literally what this is all about.
Just came through me naturally. Yeah.
No, and I love that because there's this quote that I really love. It's that we're all just souls in bodies having an experience on Earth. Yeah, and that's just it. And I think a lot of us, we like, I think like what's the word, like we zoom into problems and we zoom into like, you know, oh like I'm getting like a bad exam results, or like oh I'm having like a breakup, you know, like these things seem so huge at the moment, and yes, of course we acknowledge the feelings, but it's also such good reminder to like look out, like we're all just like having this experience. And yeah, it's I think it's just great that we're reminded of that right now. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I can share an example. Yesterday when I was at work, I was really stressed with my PhD dissertation that I'm trying to finish up in the next few months, and I was getting really in my head. And I also had my advisor say things like, you need to do this, and just sometimes in life it just feels like everyone wants to take something from you, and you need to just like show and prove and do. And I just had like a moment yesterday in the midst of all of that where I took a deep breath, and then I thought, going off of your point, this is all not going to matter in my life. Like if I'm thinking about myself way down the line, I'm not going to come back and remember any of this.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and that's the thing with being able to like zoom out and not allow the thoughts and feelings to, how can I say,
like
consume you. Yeah, there is a way to take yourself out of it And I think that's really what meditation is actually, and learning how not to react. I share this because 2 years ago I wouldn't have been able to feel a sense of calm in the midst of all the chaos. And those moments of recognition and kind of honoring yourself, like, hey, you're doing the best you can, and hey, good for you for not taking this too seriously, because it's easy to take life very seriously, especially in spaces like a big city in Tokyo where everyone is just getting shit done, trying to make a lot of money, complete all these things, check off all the boxes. But can we actually come back to ourselves and really feel into what is this all about, this thing that's called life? And I think conversations like this, recognizing that, yeah, we are all souls just having a human experience. I love that. I think it really puts things into perspective, and it feels interestingly more safe through that perspective too. It might feel a little bit like whatever, that's like woo-woo, but it's true though.
It's so true,
right?
Like, it's true. I think this is a fact though. Like, it's actually factual.
Yeah.
That this is what it's happening, like, right now, like, us being to be here in this lifetime and experience, like, life and death, and I think that's just a beautiful process that we just need to, like, we have the ability to make it meaningful and fun and light, and I think for me that's quite important, just to have lightness in everything. Yeah, because I think being in the city, especially like Hong Kong, like, when people are like on the train, I'm sure here as well, like, people are just looking down their phones, and you can feel how unhappy they are, especially during like rush hour after work. And I always just look at that, and I just think to myself, like, I don't want to be that way. Like, I want to be happy, and we have a choice to, like, even making money, like, even that is important, but there's so many ways to make money, and there's so many, like, mindsets that you can carry while you're making that money that can make life so much easier and happier.
100%. I just want to highlight what you said about, like, embodying light and embodying lightness. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, about, because in life you can feel heavy, right? You could get really crazy up in the mind, and you can just feel just you're working your way through life and it just sucks. But you can always tap into this lightness, actually. And I see light as in two different ways. It's like, embodying this light that is naturally within all of us. This can also be seen as love, like an evolved sense of love and acceptance. Or it's kind of like this detachment. It's being able to take yourself out of all of this, out of all the chaos, out of all of the stress, the thoughts, and understanding, like, you do not need to be consumed by it. And it's the light that we all have within ourselves. And I just think that I really always remember this actually every day, that I can choose, just like you said, it's a choice to live my life with this lightness and shine my light and radiate, or I can allow society to kind of dim it, and different cultural norms to dim it, or different people to try to dim it and take it away. But it is a choice, and I choose to go for the one that we're talking about that feels better and feels more happy and more expansive and more flowy. And it's a really special feeling that I want more people to experience, truly. And I think coaching is a really great avenue for that. Coaching, therapy, any type of personal development, healing work, community, being in a community, anyone can really feel into that light.
Oh, I love that so much. I'm just feeling it.
Like, you literally can feel it anytime. it's such a feel, and I know you're definitely a feminine feeler, and kind of going back on that topic earlier that we had today about living in this very patriarchal, hyper masculine world, like we being very feminine and flowy, and so many incredible people in the world having this feminine, like we can make our own lanes in a patriarchal world that we live in. Like we don't need to feel like we can't be our full selves, right? And I touch my heart space all the time now, just to like connect back to it and connect back to that wholeness and the light. And it's just a feeling like no other, truly. It's sometimes hard to put into words, this type of stuff. But I know you know what I'm feeling.
Yes. And hopefully you guys know what we're talking about too.
They're like, what are you guys talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's such a powerful thing to integrate your body with your feelings.
Yes.
Even just like touching the parts where there's a sensation, or even if it hurts, you know, or it like any type of body sensation, like just touching it and acknowledging it is so powerful. And I think feeling like light and love, like I think this is such a good I think like first step, because sometimes we forget, like for example, if we're just like walking on the street and it's so crowded and so noisy and people are like pushing you, and you will forget that, like definitely, and you just get frustrated. I mean, I don't know for you guys, but so I think like the first thing is actually like some people like do tapping like on their hands. I actually don't know that.
Yeah.
I don't know how to, but you know, it's like just to bring some body movement, or like touch, or like anything, breath into your body to just be awake in that moment of like frustration, like anger, and like it's like guaranteed that you'll feel better.
Absolutely, yeah. The breath is a really powerful tool. I like any type of somatic embodiment based tool to kind of bring you back to your body, connect you back to the heart. And also, I think it's important to note that if you're feeling the anger, the stress, the overwhelm, that's important to feel too. Like I feel it a lot. I'm not love and light all the time. I definitely feel the shit and the mud and the pain and the anger. And actually that's something as well that I've been trying to explore more, is like feeling anger and actually being okay with my anger and not judging it. Like it's just as important to hold space for those difficult feelings that aren't love and acceptance and light. And I think that's actually what makes me feel whole, is when I am able to hold in presence all of it, the full spectrum of human emotions. That's it. That's what it is. And that's what life is. It's not just the light, it's also the shadow, the darkness. I'm actually really proud of how far I've come with not trying to numb or suppress any of those emotions like I have in the past, or how I've witnessed my mom do it in the past. It's really, really profound to feel it all. And it's scary too, because we're kind of conditioned to fight or flight it, or numb it, or repress and shove it under the rug. But emotions really just take 90 seconds to move through the body. And if you learn emotional regulation, that's a form of self-love. Like feeling your anger, feeling into the sadness and disappointment, and not being like, what's wrong with me for feeling like this? No, it's okay to feel like that. It's okay. And that's just a different form of love that I believe is so important. And I want a lot of people to remember that.
Oh, thank you for sharing that with us. And this actually ties in perfectly with my last question. So my last question is, what is one thing that you love about yourself?
I feel it a lot in my heart. when you ask that question.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think intuitively, I'm going to go with my heart. If I'm feeling it here, it's my ability to meet someone where they're at. It's leading with my heart, even though we live in a world that kind of puts people with an open heart like they're naive.
Yeah.
You know, and I still lead with it. I think the one biggest thing that I love about myself is my heart, and the love I have for others, the love I have for plants and animals, for life. I love life a lot, and I don't think I could have said that a few years ago. Yeah, it's right here.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us and just opening your heart with us and being here at the space.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm like processing so much feels right now, and oh my gosh, I hope this episode, like, for those of you watching and listening, also, you know, does something to you one way or the other. So, thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast. How can the audiences find you?
Yes, absolutely. So you can find me at my Instagram, which is at nina.gamell. Maybe Leanne can link that into the show notes. Or you can visit me at ninagamell.com, which is my coaching website.
Please. Your podcast.
And my podcast. I do have a podcast. It is The Light of Insight with Nina Gamell. And yeah.
I was there on her podcast as a guest, so you guys can check it out.
Check out that episode.
Yes, go there right now. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, just go to her podcast and press follow.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we wish you all a great day after this podcast, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.